I'm not going to juggle.
Okay, go.
Welcome to In the Studio. I just found out, and I don't know if I mentioned it on the last demo, but if anybody likes using these Benjamin Moore brushes, which I do, I heard that they're no longer going to continue manufacturing these.
Oh, no.
These are the China bristle. So the whole line of Benjamin Moore China bristles are going to be no longer. So what do? I go out and buy just about every China bristle Benjamin Moore brush I could find within 50 miles to last me. And if any, like I know Sue Luca wants to buy a couple of these, and so I grabbed enough. And you can actually get them on Amazon, probably all the online shops and stuff. I'm sure there's enough in the country to last a year. But I called one place, local, and they said, no, we don't have those anymore. We have the new nylon version. So they're already coming into stores. So, you know, out with the old, in with the new. I don't know what's going to happen, but these ought to last me at least another month or two, or a couple of years.
I couldn't even find them.
I couldn't either.
Yeah,
I've been to the store, and there was nothing except nylon.
I know. But yeah,
There's a place in Hooksett. Did you go there?
I didn't go there, no.
Benjamin Moore.
I called around. I just shopped by phone until when someone said they had them, I said, be right over. So
Okay.
today, what I'd like to do is something kind of different. We've been I've been feeling stuck in kind of a rut of the same scenery, the same kinds of paintings, the tonalist landscapes, sunsets, and all that. So today I thought we'd try, may not be successful because it's going to be a bit of invention, but I have some reference material here. The number one is a photograph of a little cove on the ocean. Some nice seaweedy rocks and mud, and sand, and all that stuff. And then I have some other, that's a painting, and a photo of some boats, whether that's going to be plugged in anywhere. Then I have another couple of photos. This is not the one, but this one. I like that feeling. So maybe we'll put a sunset in, but I want to do something more of a silhouette-y rocks, like the Alfred Britcher kind of scenario, or even some of the Winslow Homers did some nice beach rocks. Change the background, give it a little depth. Okay? So let's begin. And the way I would begin is the way I always would begin, with my 2-inch Benny Moore. Good old Benny. Benny comes through for me. I just love the way it moves around. I don't have a holdable palette right now, but I'm going to get one soon, hopefully after I sell a couple more paintings. But go to your local gallery and look if there's any Sheehans for sale, you know, just kidding. So I've got it's nothing new to all you subscribers out there. You've seen the brown and the red and green that I put together. And so I want to build a composition. I want to find out where the horizon is, which I want about here. And I want to block in interesting shapes, and keeping in mind that I need a focal point. So without a whole lot of effort, I can get rocks and water from my same brush just by using the oil drips like that. And if I want to develop it even further, like if I really want this to be water, which is in here, I can lighten it up with the paper towel. And do all that kind of thing. So you can get a lot done with just this brown mix if you balance it just right. because on the brush, as I've stated in the past demos, they're not entirely mixed colors. They're kind of unmixed, as you can see, and I've got a lot of oil in it. So let's bring this rock out here. Let's just play around till things look kind of nice compositionally. And then the water should go to about there, I would think. A little above halfway is a nice horizon line. Because there's going to be a lot of deep, dark, silhouette-y things. Then I want a little bit of water here, maybe a wave breaking here, and then just sky. In fact, I can go right to the sky at this point. And I am going to get I want it to be gray. Not quite dark like that or orangey like that, but I don't know, maybe on the gray side. This is too bright, too light. So let's go right to the sky. Excuse me, I'm going to get some orange and some blue. Those are two of the best. Those two colors together make a great gray. And a little ivory black, so.
Is that your ultramarine blue or you said?
I'm using both blues. Ultramarine blue, Sevres blue, and orange. Maybe put a little alizarin in there. Give it a little more of a violet-y hue. Then, once I get that base orange gray, dull blue gray, dull on my brush, I can start adding other mixtures, other colors into that. So primarily, the effect is going to look the same color, but it's going to vary, but from a distance overall, it's going to look pretty much the same. Now this can be achieved through glazes. You could paint the whole sky one color. Did we lose a student?
She'll be back in a minute.
Oh. People disappearing around here. I hope you're not disappearing out there, so stay tuned. You could paint the whole sky one color, let it dry, say an orange. Then you could glaze over, say, with a cobalt blue. And then you could mix and match and throw in other stuff. You could put a scumble over that of whitish gray, and you could get, good atmosphere, a fogged out a sky. You could bring it down over the rocks and water so it looks like it's kind of a foggy, oceany day. But for my practical purpose for the demo today, I'm just going to not spend a ton of time on a big area like the sky, but it has to be interesting also. So you can't paint it like it's a house, painting a wall. It needs variety, interest, and it has to be, it has to recede. So it's got to be a very neutral color. It's got to go back. And this line should be very, very level, because you don't want an ocean going downhill or uphill. It's got to be level when you look out there. Maybe there'll be some brightening up at the top. Maybe that will give me more interest. Let me try to do that. I'm sure on the film it looks very, very gray. There's a lot of variety in it, but it won't pick that all up on, even though we have HD. So at the top, let me get a little more interest. Maybe there's a break. Maybe there's a break in the sky with a little light coming in. Bring it down. This is kind of a transitional tone from the top down. Then I'll get even a little brighter up top, introducing a little more of the Sevres blue and a little yellow in it. So let's see what happens when I do that. Maybe even a little more yellow, like this yellow. Has to be, it has to look believable. And you know, now I see a lot of interesting areas. So I create some shapes. All this creates interest. There'll be a lot of interest here, but you have to balance that interest off with other areas of the painting. And this is such a big expanse, you need some little things to catch the eye and hold the eye. The trick is to keep a viewer's attention. That's one of the toughest things to do in an oil painting. So the sky's not too bad. I might add a little peach tone. So I'm going to mix up orange and alizarin. How's that? Orange, alizarin, and Sevres. So I have a peachy, very peachy, peachy. I'm just going to put a little more of a light streak in here. With this peachy, it's kind of a peachy violet actually. Try to get rid of brush hairs if they're a problem. Don't want those distracting. There. If I want to get a little brighter in there, well, I'll do that later. I could brighten up just in the center to keep the focal point there. So, let me get a new brush here. And we're going to go right out to the water. I got my rocks. I'm going to put some water coming in with the mud and the sand, seaweed. But right now we have to put something in this big area here. So I'm going to get a very dull. So I'm going to use ultramarine blue, Sevres blue, and some orange. Actually, I'm going to add some green to this. Believe it or not, it's going to be a little more of a green. I can invent any color I want for the ocean. It's up to me. I'm the artiste. So I want a nice, cool, believable beach, ocean. What colors did I mix? I forget what I mixed. Orange. Thank you. I missed it. And then I added green though, right? Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I put a little green in it. I'm going to get a nice level horizon. Very, very important to get this level. I used to be a sign painter out there, so I could, you know, I could draw a pretty straight line when I was a young kid. But as you get old, of course, you know, it doesn't work the same always. Not that bad. Okay, so as I come forward, I am going to get a little more light hitting the tops of the water. So I'm just going to use the same mixture. I'm going to make it a little bluer and a little greener, because that's kind of what I see in here on that photograph or painting. I can't even tell. This is so much fun, I can't even stand it. So I'm going to add a little white, but it has to stay gray. So adding white, you got to be very careful when you add white to certain mixtures because it gets too light and it doesn't stay deep enough gray. So I'm going to add white and black and see what that does. but it has to remain neutral and not too light. If, adding white generally lightens things up, but if it's too light, it's not going to read correctly. Because you want to highlight the water with the light of the crests of the waves crashing in. So let's put in some of the, just patch it in. Now I'm going to go back to the greenish color again. I know my head's in the way here, folks at home, but I have no other way to do this just as yet. So let's go back with this beautiful greeny ocean tone. And put some in the front here and put some back there. Don't paint like this. Paint like this. Little spots here and there. Whoops, we got some stuff flying around. The oil is flying off the handle, causing spots, but we can fix that. We can give this line a little atmosphere back there. So I'm going to take a half tone and kind of dissolve this, because in real life, it wouldn't be a very sharp edge unless it was against a brighter sky. So I want this nice atmosphere distance thing going on. I'm going to jump the gun a little bit because I'm impatient, the most impatient painter you'd ever want to see. So I like to go right for the gusto as fast as I can. So I'm going to go back to that streak of light in the sky and come up with a nice, well, kind of a russet. But it has to have the blue in it to give it the, this has to recede. So here's my, this russet is just red, orange, and put a little of the blue into it. Red, orange, and blue. And I'm going to take another brush, dry brush, totally dry, I hope, and just soften that up. So it's not too strong. Like that. Now, I can also take the same color. I'm not looking really at anything, so. And I can highlight a few choice clouds up here, especially in the middle, and give a little bit more of this, what did I call it? Peach? It's more of a peach, I think. Let's peach it up a little more. So I want this painting to be peachy keen.
How do you peach it up?
You just add a little more orange.
Orange?
Yeah, to the russet. Russet can be more reddish. It does have the Sevres blue in it. But to peach it, is there a word, peach it up? I don't know.
Peachify.
I'm going to peachify.
I like that one. Okay, that is good.
So now I have a lot more interest in the sky, for one thing. And it's still subtle. I'm going to punch one more spot up a hair, because sometimes you really just got to try stuff out. So this is another orangey, peachy, but brighter chroma. Just this little spot here. Where's my blending brush? This is a dry brush, so I'll just soften that a bit. Okay, back to the water. Let's put those in the drink. And let's get down to business at the bottom here. All right. I'm going to go back to my beginning. I'm going to get some oil, the 2-inch. I'm going to dip into the raw sienna, into my mixture of gray on the brush already. This is going to give me a really nice beach, rock, gray, greenish, succulent color. It's got that raw sienna feeling. It's got that wet sand, wet rock, beachy feeling. I got a peaceful, beachy feeling. And we got some rocks going out here. Got some rocks out here. I'm making up some of this, folks, so don't be afraid to be creative. Don't rely too heavily on reference material. Reference material was made to be manipulated and changed. So, I got some reds. I got some edges. I got rock here. I want to make this painting rock. Oh, that was bad. Now I'm going to take the water brush and I'm going to use that to give me the tops of some of the rocks because those I read as being violet. So, we're going to rock with violet. Actually, it's going to be a violety. Never is one color with me. So we're going to put a little green into that violet. I'm going to see what's going to happen here. Over here, especially, we got seaweed coming down. Then we have some big rocks we're going to deal with shortly. So I'm going to get a smaller brush to deal with those rocks. And those rocks, by that I mean these kind of brown violet rocks. But I'm going to keep them more on the gray side because that's the kind of color I like. And I want the whole mood of the whole painting to be more grayish. Not too much, not too diverse of coloration. So, we got a gray, violety, greenish mixture going in here. It's a nice rock edge right here. If you want to give it a highlight, you can. The top. We got some here. Got a big one over here. And then experiment. Let your brush find other colors to add to that. I mean, these rocks are doing all kinds of things, so you can. Then in here we have a beautiful little beachy area of mud. So you can play with that and get that nice muddy feeling going. Muddy waters and all that stuff. That's why this painting is going to rock, because we're using musicians' names. This is a good color. So I got a yellow and orange into here. I'm going to highlight one particular rock that I see here, because I like the way that lines up. So that we're going to put right here. You want just a few key rocks to catch the eye, okay? You don't want to overload the viewer. Just a few key rocks, like this one. Huh?
Are you use a golden mean when you do that, or do you automatically do it?
Well, my eye is automatic, but
Yeah.
it's based on, everything's based on the golden mean for sure, as far as my work goes. The golden mean is my formula for trying to make compositions. It always has been. So even though I'm not totally aware of it, you know, the way it's lined up, it's instinctive. Now, because I'm putting lighter colors into the rock areas, I have to determine the water, the wet, foamy water that's coming in. Wet? Did I say wet? The water, of course it's wet.
Maybe you have dry water on it.
Well, we could have dry water, so I'm going to use the wet water for this painting. So I have to determine what tone that's going to be, because it has to be different from the wet rock tones. I just felt like doing that. Okay, so let's come up with a nice gray, foamed up water color. Put a little, I got a little of everything in this now. Black, ivory, purple, violet, orange, some red. I'm going to put a little yellow. It's going to green it up. I'm going to try it. I don't like it. Try it. You like it. I don't like it. So I'm going to change that into this, which I just added a little black and red, because that's too green. Okay? So let's try this. It's got a little more of the violet going on. A little more red went into it. So let's try that again. That's too red. This is a tricky color.
So which red are you using?
I'm using all my reds.
All reds.
All reds. All reds report to the palette. Okay, let's try this once more. I'm going to add more white, and I'm going to add more ultramarine. And I know I can get this. Why? How do I know that? I don't know. I'm going to scrape off this brownish thing. Scrape off some of that. Let's try that once more. That's more like it. Then when I do this, which is going to be a kind of a wavy break, just want to see what this is going to look like out here. How far out? Like right here? Do I want this? So I'm going to put this line, then I'm going to go like this. Just to see the placement. Not too bad, because that's going to be really very, very white. Very, very whiter. Let's just say not white, but whiter. As I will illustrate now. I'm going to put a little bit of green in it. So it's very gray, very white, with a touch of green. Like that. Then with a, what do we call these? Pro strokes. I'm going to use the pro stroke to put the darker underbelly of the waves, which is going to be very, very, very midnight bluey. So alizarin, ultramarine, green phthalo, and ivory. Let's simplify it.
When you say ivory, what's ivory?
Ivory black. I'm going to put this in here. Now that doesn't work at all. That's too dark. So it has to be greener. And as it fades off to the sides, it disappears kind of. Then I'm going to mix up a little more of that, a little not so dark as I go out into the distance. And there's another smaller version of a wave coming in the foreground here. And it's good to be nervous when you do this because waves bounce. Right? See? Look at that. Dance, baby, dance. Get a nice cold water feeling. Ooh. On a hot summer day. 81 outside, I hope. Now I need to focus in the center, then move out to some of the rocks, clean up the water, get rid of all the white showing. So let's put in a little, speaking of white, let's put in a little foamy, where's my picture? Here we go. Foamy water, let's call it that. Get a little foamy. Keep your water moving, baby, because water is going to be moving. You don't want it stale, stagnant. Out here, clean this up out here. Cut in some edges. Trim down this rocks here, shape them. There. Tips of the crests. You can put more light on top after. I'm using a bigger brush. I should be using a small brush for this little bit of water in here so I can draw it better, but I like a big brush because I can cover a lot of area and territory here. Coming together, coming together, coming together. And I'm going to put a little deeper. This is kind of still water right here. And it's just got to be just the right color for that. So I'm going to mix up a violet. And make this as still as I can. can go anywhere I want it to go, so. Can't seem to get the right color for that. There. Let's get a couple of classic edges going. Where's my nice 1-inch brush I can edge with? Yeah. Need a nice flat. I'll use this brush here. I'm going to use this 3/4, ½ inch, I think it is, with a dark gray. One of this color right here I want, basically. So it's got the yellow, it's got the black, it's got the red and green. Mainly a dark green version is what it is, really. So I'm looking at some rocks here. This is a sharp edge. So I can do a little more like I'm drawing with that. There's a rock out here. Should I put it in or not? Well, let's put in the rocks that are touching the water. How about that? This rock comes out, it goes up this way, comes in. The shadow, now that's another story. The shadow, actually it kind of reflects the rock color, so it is kind of the same color. Like this here. Has seaweed, and then it goes into the water here and reflects. And that same color all along the water here is reflecting. But then when it gets out here, it's much sharper. So we get darker with blue,